Premiere Pro allows you to auto reframe any sequence for other social media formats, such as 1x1 and 9x16, which are very popular on Instagram, Facebook, and other platforms. In this movie, we'll get a sense for how we can use this AI-driven workflow. So I have a sequence, chapter 1.7, open up, which you can find in the chapter 1 folder within the project panel if you're following along. I'll just play back the first few clips so you can get a sense for the motion in a few of these shots. Also, just notice that there are several transitions here on the timeline and the movement and panning of the first 5 shots. Also to mention, the second last shot here in the timeline, if I select it, you'll notice in effect controls, there have been some scaling keyframes that have been added to add to the motion of the northern lights. In order to auto reframe this for a 1x1 aspect ratio, what we're going to do is select the sequence and head to our sequence menu, where we'll see an option to auto reframe sequence. Right now we get a sequence name with the appended new target aspect ratio here at the end, which is 1x1 and what we want. But if we went down to target aspect ratio and from the dropdown chose something else like 9x16, the sequence name would update. Let's choose 1x1 and get to one of the most important factors, which is motion tracking. So Premiere Pro will go to lengths to reposition the contents of your clip to try to frame the action that it considers to be the most important. It will do this by not only repositioning the clip, but keyframing it to keep that action within this new square aspect ratio. From motion tracking, we can try to help it out by identifying the type of motion that's currently in our shot. Is that motion fast, slow, or at its current, which is just set to default? We'll leave it at default and then choose a clip nesting operation. Now, Premiere Pro is going to add a new auto reframe effect onto each of our clips. In order to do this, we need to choose whether we want to have clip nesting or not. If we choose not to have clip nesting, all of the transitions in our timeline will be preserved, but it will replace any existing motion adjustments we've done to our clip. So like that second last clip in the timeline where we have keyframes, that will be overridden. Now, if we choose to nest clips, the second option, this is going to keep any motion adjustments we've already done, but it will remove our transitions. Either way will involve a little bit of work in this instance, but we'll choose don't nest clips and then create a new sequence. Here we can see the new chapter 1.7 1x1 timeline, and I'll press the spacebar just to play back the first few clips. The first and the second clip that has a transition look good, but when we see our third clip, we'll see a little bit of warping in its effort to keep the contents in the frame. And you'll notice here in the fourth shot, it messes up on what is the main form of action. I'll press the spacebar to stop, and let's see how we can improve on the framing of these shots. So we have a few options. I'll go here to the third shot, and notice on effect controls, we've got the auto reframe effect. One is we can ask it to choose a different type of motion tracking. So I might choose slower motion and see the results it does now with that slower motion. Another option I have is to just get rid of the auto reframe altogether by turning it off. This is now going to result back to the original motion scaling that is on your clip, where we can resize this shot manually and choose the contents that we would like to see within our frame. Showing one more option, let's just take a look at the fourth clip here in the timeline and scroll down and a closer look at some of the auto reframe properties. First off, I'm just going to expand this view. And one option that's really helpful is a reframe offset if we do want to just generally are happy with the motion of our clip, but want to change the reframing of this shot. However, in this case, it's not going to help us so much because we pan over to our other subject here. So another option we have is the ability to overwrite the current position keyframed adjustments by enabling this. Once we do, you'll see that it reveals all the keyframes it used to try to keep the main action in frame. And all of the keyframes after the third one are not very useful to us. So what I'll do is highlight those three, delete them, And here, let me just go back to play back that fourth clip, where we can see it how it tries to keep our main subject in the frame. We can adjust this further by getting rid of one of these keyframes here, not to mention just playing with the reframe offset after these keyframe position values to get the best result. Now, last but not least with auto reframe, let's take a look at this new keyframed example of the Northern Lights. As we can see, the auto reframing doesn't help us in this situation with that second last shot. So in this case, I'll also overwrite the existing keyframes where I really don't want this pan. So I'll just get rid of the last 3 keyframes and then just reframe the Northern Lights to what I want to see here in this shot. And here with those keyframed adjustments, we have our Northern Lights kept within the frame. While auto reframe is not perfect, it does give us a starting point for reframing our content for social media.